been following over the last few months, you know that I started my first ever baby quilt for our baby girl on the way. And now we're getting into crunch time. I've made quite a bit of progress since the last update I gave you. However, we have quite a bit of work to still do. I honestly don't think I'm going to get it done in time before she is here, but I'm going to get as far as I can with it. So for this particular quilt, I chose to follow a pattern from Pin Cut Sew. I'll have it linked down below in the description in case you're interested. I chose to follow this gingham pattern for a baby quilt, and so you're going to pick 3 different fabrics, a medium, a light, and a dark fabric, and you can break that up however you would like. I chose to do a solid yellow, a solid ivory, and then a pattern. And instead of finding 3 different fabrics at the fabric store, I did decide to use what are called charm packs, and these are pre-cut squares. It just saves a lot of time in that regard. So if you are looking to make your first quilt and you don't want to have to cut out each individual square, then this is a nice option because you know that they're all going to be even, and it's going to make sewing and lining everything up a little bit easier for you. Once you've chosen your fabrics, you're going to put the 2 right facing sides together and sew along the side, creating a seam. I'm going to do this for all of your squares. Once again, the pattern will go into depth about how many squares you're going to need, so definitely go check out that pattern from Pin Cut Sew. It's completely free. You can just download it, and I highly recommend it. It was really easy to follow. If you watched last week's video, I talked about my biggest tip for growing in your homemaking skills, and I highly recommend going back and watching that video if you haven't already. But this is one of the skills that I was able to learn, and I'm still learning. I think sewing is going to be like a lifelong skill. There's always going to be something that you can learn. Quilting, there's always going to be something you can learn, but I have so much more time if I use my time wisely to pour into this skill, this hobby, something that I enjoy, something that brings me a lot of satisfaction, and also knowing that it can be useful for our family in the future. I still am very much a beginner, and so I know I'm going to look back one day on this quilt, and I'm gonna say, wow, look how far you've come. But as for now, I'm really excited with the progress I've made so far, and I'm excited to continue to grow in this area. After completing the quilt top, it was time to even out the top. So I, being an imperfect beginner here, I have a lot of uneven edges, and so I went through and I evened those out, and then we can begin what's called the quilt sandwich. This includes your quilt top, your batting, and your backing. And so you're actually going to start with your batting. So I'm using this Warm and Natural needled cotton batting made in the US, and I'm going to lay this out. You want more batting than your actual quilt size. You're going to lay out the batting. You're going to want to smooth it out, make sure that there's no bumps in the batting, and then you're going to add your quilt top over top of the batting. And once again, you're going to go through and smooth everything out so that everything is really flat. And then I'm cutting off the excess batting. You still want to give yourself some grace room, but I had more than enough, so I went through and cut off some of the extra so that it was easier to work with. Once everything is smoothed out with the quilt top and the batting, you're actually going to roll it up just as it is and put that to the side. And then we're going to take our backing. Now your backing is just whatever fabric you decide you want to use for your backing. I decided to grab a completely different cotton fabric, another floral print, so something different than anything on the front, but the colors go really well together. And then you're going to roll out the batting and the quilt top back on top of the backing. From here, we're going to take some safety pins and we're just going to pin everything in place. This is going to allow you to quilt without everything moving around on you. So you're just going to go through. I went through every few squares and added a pin just so that I could easily move the materials around if I wanted to quilt on my bed, in the living room, on a table, wherever I was. I didn't have to worry about everything shifting every time I moved it. Now, if you're new to quilting like me, you probably thought all that beginning process was quilting, but it's actually not. The quilting is actually when you're sewing the 3 pieces of the quilt sandwich together. So the batting, the binding, and the quilt top. You can either quilt on a machine, sewing machine, you can take it to an actual quilter at a shop, and also the other option is you can hand quilt it. And I did decide to hand quilt it, so I'm using 100% cotton Shishiko thread. I heard really good things about this, and so I just got a pack on Amazon. I'm going to link as much as I can down below for you guys, and you just take a needle and you hand stitch, and so it's very imperfect, but I honestly think it looks beautiful and I'm really happy with the results so far.